that's his turn. That's that's basically GG's, right? All right, let's go ahead and activate Lightning Storm. By activating Lightning Storm, we can go ahead and get rid of this back row real quick. Oh, it was called by the grave. Okay. So yeah, not too bad. We can then summon out our Sky Striker Ace. And we're actually not going to go into anything after this. So he just wasted his Maxi. I think he should have probably waited to do that. But let's go into Ace and let's just go ahead and attack. We get off that damage. And then we're just going to end our turn, to be honest with you. So we already locked him down, like super clutch. I'm not sure what deck he's playing because I just see the regular staples in the actual deck. But it looks like we locked him down already. Yeah. And he's locked. Yo, everybody just quits every time I play this deck, bro. What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy CowLife here, bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. And today I decided that we were going to be playing some Sky Strikers. Now, I did bring out a Sky Striker video before, but this is more of an updated one. I went ahead and changed some cards in not only the extra deck, but also in the main deck. So what are we going to be doing with Sky Strikers? My plan is that we're going to go in there and lock opponents down. Now, with us being able to lock opponents down, they are not going to be able to do any of the special summoning. And how do we intend to do that? Well, that's an easy question. We intend to use Kaiser Coliseum, and if you don't know what Kaiser Coliseum does, it basically means that if I only have one monster on the field, you can only have one monster on the field as long as you didn't have more monsters than me at that time when I activated Kaiser Coliseum. So, for instance, let's say I summoned my Sky Striker Rose, and then I ended my turn with Kaiser Coliseum, and we go against a Drytron deck, right? Drytron then can only summon out that one Drytron monster, and it can't do anything until it can take out my Rose. And because of the fact that they usually special summon into defense mode when activating card effect, they are basically screwed. And majority of the time they need to end their turn unless they can get something out, which would be, you know, another monster. Anyways, what are we running in the deck? Well, that's simple. We're running 3 Effect Veilers, 3 Maxis, 3 Ash Blossoms, so you know, a whole bunch of hand traps. 3 copies of Ray, 3 copies of Rose, and then 2 copies of Nibiru. So that's a whole bunch of hand traps. So that's basically about, what's that, 9 right there, 11 hand traps in the deck, right? Then we're running for spells, and this is why you need a whole bunch of spells in this deck, because Sky Strikers activate their second effect of their cards based on how many spells you have in the graveyard. So we are running Raigeki at 1 Harpies, 1 Monster Reborn, 3 copies of Upstart, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Pot of Avarice, 2 copies of Engage, 1 copy of Striker Maneuver, 1 Lightning Storm, 3 copies of Airspace, 3 copies of Kaiser Coliseum, 3 copies of Sky Striker Mecha Modules, 2 copies of Call by the Grave, 1 of Sky Striker Mecha, and then 2 copies of Mecha Widow. And then we have 1 copy of Sky Striker Mecha Shark Cannon, and then 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. So this is the main deck. Now, I will point out, if I could run more than 1 of these of Lightning Storm, I would, but I don't have it. So that's why I'm only running 1. So it's up to you. If you think you can run 2 copies of, or 3 copies of Lightning Storm, then I suggest you do, but it's completely up to you. Anyways, for the extra deck, we are running 1 copy of Kagari, 3 copies of Shizuku, 3 copies of Hayate, 1 copy of Kaina, and then 1 copy of Kriston Halkilibrix, and then a Nightmare Phoenix, 1 copy of Masquerena, and then 1 copy of Zeke, 1 copy of Unicorn, 1 copy of Celine, and then 1 copy of Access Code Talker. Now, before I was running 2 copies of Zeke, but I decided to swap 1 out so I could get Masquerena in there. And by getting Masquerena in there, that means we can actually go into access code and make him invincible to card effects. Because usually what you want to do in this case is you usually want to go into a Sky Striker, like let's say Sky Striker Ray, and go from Ray into any Sky Striker right here. And then if you can get a tuner monster on the field, you can then go into Christon. From Christon, then you can go into Selene, and then based on the number of spell cards that's in the graveyard of both you and your opponent, you get spell counters, and then from your spell counters, you can use its ability to then go ahead and summon another effect Veiler, and then that will basically make you to be able to go into 4 to get access code Talker, right? So that would be one way. But then I decided, like, you know, we can also go into Maschiana, and then let's just say we decide to go with, where is it, Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones, right? From Hornet Drones, we special summon a monster onto the field. Then from there we can go into a link summoning, right? And then we can then summon out another monster, another Sky Striker Ray or a Rose, and if we both have them in both our hands, then that's already a link 3. Okay, and then we could just go ahead and go into Maschiana, and then eventually get into Access Code Talker. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it. I decided I wanted to try it that way, and you know, it worked pretty well. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the duels. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See ya. So we are going first, and obviously we're going to start off with Upstart, and then summon Ray. And also we're going to put Kaiser Coliseum in the, on the field. After that, we end our turn and we grab Engage. We then immediately go ahead and pop our Maxi. That allows us to draw because we get Kaiju'd. From there, I decide I'm going to use Airspace just to go ahead and get rid of this off my field so I can activate Engage. Now I go into Rose, and from Rose we summon Hayate. Then I activate Engage and we get Sky Striker Mecha. And I'm gonna go ahead and attack, and I'm gonna send one Airspace to the graveyard. So the reason I sent Airspace to the grave is because I didn't want to have it as a dead draw, since I already had the Airspace on my field, and I really wanted another spell card in the graveyard. So that would have made 3 spells in the grave, so we can get our second effects for our abilities. Then I go into Kagari. I go ahead and get Engage once again. Then I grab out the Widow. After that, I go into Shizuku and I end my turn. Now, this is what really sucks right here. We get Lightning Storm, so like all my back row I just set up was for nothing. Anyways, now that it's his turn, he decides to go ahead, and we find out he's playing Mech Knights. Now, I don't know much about Mech Knights, to be honest with you, but he's able to go ahead and get this off after we Ash Blossom him, and then he goes into Artifact Dagda. From there he goes into another Mech Knight, and I believe he moves it to the left, if I remember correctly, after getting his I think that's Artifact Sight that he put on the board. I believe so. Let's check. Oh, I had put it away. Yeah, it was Artifact Sight. So then from there he summons out his other Mech Knight, and then he goes into a Mech Knight Perp Nightfall. So I'm like, oh boy, hopefully he can't OTK us. So we activate Ray's ability, and I get off Kaina. Kaina is able to go ahead and stop 1 attack per turn after being summoned. He then goes into Unicorn, sends a card to its grave, and he puts Ray into our deck. I decided to go ahead and activate Regeki. He then is going to try to use Perp Nightfall. That way he can go ahead and banish it and then bring it back on his next standby phase. And then he's also able to add 1 Mech Knight, right? But because we have a Mech Widow Anchor, what we're going to actually do is we're going to pop that there, negate his effect, and even though we have a total of what is it, 5, 6 spell cards in the graveyard, I didn't want to bring him to my field, so I decided just to negate him and keep him there. That way we could just get rid of all the monsters. And so what do I know? I know that this is an artifact site right here, so I know this can't affect me unless it's being destroyed. So I decided to go into Hayate. Then from there I use Monster Reborn to bring back Ash Blossom. Now the reason we're bringing back Ash is because now we can go to Christon. Then from Christon we can go in and get Effect Veiler, and then from there we can get into Selene. Selene is then going to get all her spell counters. Now we have 9 spell counters because He has 1 in the grave, and I believe we have 8 over here in the grave. So it's based off of that. And then I can just get rid of 3 to bring out Effect Veiler. And then we're gonna go into access code. We power up our access code, we pop this. He's gonna summon his Scythe again. Now, with Scythe being summoned, we are not allowed to go ahead and special summon anymore per this turn. So I knew that was gonna happen, but I wanted to get rid of him just in case he was able to get over our access code. So I use my ability to destroy him, and then I'm gonna use my ability again, banish 1 more card, and then we're gonna destroy it again, and we're gonna attack. And then after that, he just scoops. So he was really struggling, I guess. I mean, I guess what he drew wasn't gonna help him in any type of way. I mean, we did get rid of his whole board, which was super good. Thank you, we had Regeki. Anyways, let's get into the next one. Okay, now it looks like we are going second, and honestly, that is super unfortunate because it turns out we're going against heroes. But we notice we have a Nibiru in our hand, so what I decided to do is turn off my chain activation to off, obviously, and we're just gonna let this hero player just do what he does. So he has no clue we have a Nibiru in our hand, and it's actually gonna get super funny because he's gonna go into all this, right? And I'm just keeping count of what he has done so far, all the summons he's done. He then uses Fusion Destiny and bring out Dominance. Now, the funniest thing about him bringing out Dominance is he's able to go ahead and look at our top 5 cards of our deck, right? And then he's able to place them in any order. So you're gonna see what we end up drawing. And this is why he thought he was safe. We go ahead and Nibiru him. We put our Nibiru in defense mode just in case, and we go ahead and give him his token. Now he ends his turn, and what do we happen to draw? A Nibiru. So he thought he was gonna be good because he put a Nibiru on top of our deck, and he thought he'd get a full combo, and he's just able to go ahead and do everything. But he didn't realize that, yo, I probably have a Nibiru myself, right? Anyways, we go into Ray, and then from Ray we go into Hayate. We attack directly. Then I decide to activate Hayate's ability, and we're gonna go ahead and throw a card into our graveyard, right? We throw out Engage into grave, and then from Engage we go into Kagari. And now with Kagari, what I do is grab our Mobilize Engage, and then I'm going to use Nibiru to go into our Sky Striker Zeke and banish off his token. Now, because it's a token, it doesn't actually get banished, so that token of 7,000 is gone forever, right? Now with Zeke on the field, we activate our Engage, but he decides to go ahead and Ash Blossom us. So now we have no choice but to use Called by the Grave. After using Called by the Grave, I'm going to go ahead and grab 1 card from our deck, and I decide to grab a Widow Anchor, and then we're gonna go ahead and throw 1 Kaiser Coliseum onto the field. After throwing our Kaiser Coliseum on the field, I decide to activate Zeke's ability by sending 1 card on our field to the graveyard. The reason I sent Kaiser Coliseum is because we already had another one in our hand. So with Kaiser going to the grave, we get a 1,000 attack increase, and we're still able to lock him down because we have 1 Kaiser. And then on top of that, we have a Mecha Widow Anchor on our board as well. And anyways, he immediately ends as he can't do anything. So I decided to go into Hayate once again, and we go ahead and attack. Send Rose to the graveyard, and then we attack again. And just so he can't keep summoning more than 1 monster, I decided to go ahead and get rid of our Hayate. So that brings us Zeke once again to now 3,500. He uses E Emergency and then gets his Stratos. From Stratos, he decides to go ahead and get another card. From there, he gets rid of Stratos and he goes into Poly, right? From Poly, he goes into Sunrise. Now, Sunrise is usually annoying because he would usually be able to destroy our card, but because he can't summon another hero, he doesn't get to use that ability, right? Plus, he's weaker than us. So, and the way he works is depending on how many heroes is on the field of different attributes is how much increase this gets by 200. So he can't get over us. He decides to go ahead and get Miracle Fusion, activates Miracle Fusion to bring out Hero the Shining, right? And it's still weaker than us. So now he ends turn. So we decide to go ahead and special summon our Kagari. Once again, with Kagari being special summoned, we can now go ahead and get Mobilize Engage from our graveyard. I decided to go ahead and activate Zeke's ability to get rid of him and put our Zeke to 4,500. And then I activate mobile engage. But however, with engage being stopped by Ash, I decided to just use Widow, and we attack the game with his own monster. Like, have you ever seen a hero player look so sad? They were trying to summon and they just couldn't get past it. It's super unfortunate. He really thought he had us because he put our Nibiru on top, but I guess he didn't realize people play multiple copies of Nibiru. So anyways, let's get into the next one. All right, so we are going second, and honestly this duel did kind of scare me. Anyways, we started off by activating our Maxi, and guess what? He's playing in Virtual Worlds, and he decides to take on the Maxi challenge. Now, if anyone knows anything about Virtual Worlds, they special summon a ton, right? So looking at our starting hand, it is pretty good if we go first, but going second is terrible. Anyways, he's still going into Maxi, so we're just getting more and more, and our hand is increasing better and better. What do we have so far? We have a Harpy's Feather Duster. We have a Rose Array, another Maxi, a Effect Veiler, and now we're gonna go ahead and Effect Veiler his Tizokin, but we get hit with Call by the Grave. But to be honest, that doesn't matter. Then he decides to use his own Maxi, and I'm not sure why. It's not like I'm going to be special summoning here, but he decided to do it anyways. I'm assuming it was an accident. He then goes into Crystal Wing, and then from there he decides to go into Virtual World Shinshin. So after that, he's going to go ahead and end his turn. I was a little confused about it because I thought he would go into All King of Calamities, but he didn't. Anyways, so now that it's our turn, we activate our Harpy's Feather Duster, and then by activating Harpy's Feather Duster, I go into Forbidden Droplet. Then I go ahead and get 3 cards sent to our grave. That way we can go ahead and lower the attack of all his monsters on the field and negate their effects, right? And on top of that, I really wanted to go ahead and get some spell cards in the graveyard, which would really help us. So now I decided to activate Lightning Storm, and you would guess it, he scoops. So because he took on the Maxi challenge, he really ended up screwing himself, because after that I could have easily went into a few combos where I could get off we can go from Ray, and then from Ray I can go into Shizuku, and then we can also summon out Rose. Then we can attack with Rose and Ray, then you know we can link summon and then attack again. So we would have did about 4,500 damage on our first turn. Then I could have, after that I could have went into another monster, and then with Kaiser Coliseum limit him to 1. Plus we still had another Forbidden Droplet in our hand, so he was going to be really screwed, and I don't think he was going to be able to get over it. So I think that's why he decided to go ahead and scoop. Okay, so this one's going to be our last one, and honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. He decides that he thinks he could draw with Pot of Desires, and I'm just like, no. After that, I decided to activate our Maxi. That way he can't block our Ash Blossom. But so he then decides to go ahead and end his turn. I summon out Ray, and then I summon out Rose. I attack with 2 of them, and then I use Ray's ability to go into Hayate to attack again. So we do a good amount of damage. After that, I go into Suzuku. We get a card from the deck, which is going to be engaged, and then from there we end our turn. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about it. So he does summon out Heavy Metalos, and from there I activate Effect Veiler. We then go ahead and negate that, so his Heavy Metaphors can't use its ability. He then decides to attack into us. Now, at this point, I could have used Ray's ability to summon Ray back to the field because one of our Link monsters went to the graveyard, but I decided to be against that, and the reason is I want to be able to activate Engage, and because we have no monsters on the field except for in our Link zone, we can go ahead and do that. I activate Engage, we go ahead and get Widow Anchor, and he decides that he's gonna go quit, and it makes sense because now with Widow Anchor, what I could have done is just grab his monster. From grabbing his monster, I could have then went and summoned out our Ray, and then we could have just went full damage and just won the game. So it makes sense that he quit. Anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry the duels wasn't as exciting as I would like them to be, but people just keep quitting against this deck. It is nothing I can do about it. Anyways, Cal Life is signing out. You have a wonderful day. See ya.